Let's go.
I'd like to welcome everybody to this meeting of the Rockingham County Board of Commissioners. This is the 17th day of January 2023. Hope everybody's having a good new year. We will be starting our meeting out with an invocation. I would ask you, if you do have electronic devices that make noises, to silence them at this time. And following our invocation, which will be given by Major Curtis Kratz of the Salvation Army. You guys did some great stuff at Christmas. We very much appreciate it. And following that, Commissioner Hall will be introducing the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be given tonight by our special guest. So if you would stand and remain standing after the invocation for the pledge.
Let us pray. Father God, we thank you so much for today. Lord, we thank you for every corner of this wonderful county that we get to serve in. Lord, we pray for this meeting this evening. We pray that you'd give the commissioners wisdom in all the decisions that they are making. Lord, we pray for those who have concerns, Lord, that they would be brought, Lord, and they would be answered in the way that you have it designed. We thank you for who you are and what you do. We love you and praise you in your holy name. Amen.
As we remain standing, tonight we have the honor of hosting Mr. Tanner Joyce. He is a Wentworth Elementary School student. He's in the first grade. He loves playing outside, playing basketball, playing baseball, and he hopes to be a fireman one day. So, Mr. Joyce, if you'll step to the podium and say the pledge, we'll appreciate it. But please face the flag. Proceed, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Great job, sir.
Yes, you want to say the pledge.
I love it. Yeah, they're going to get it.
Well, okay, we're going to go ahead and take that off consent.
Where, offer consent for the dogs. No. Yeah.
That's a lot of information. Which one is that? G.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, you've had the agenda here for the last 8 or 10 days. Are there any amendments or a motion concerning the same?
Mr. Chairman, we do have a few changes. Make a motion we accept the agenda with the following changes. Item 5G will be removed from consent, and we allow the retirement of K-9 Kira, age 11, after 10 years of service to the Rockingham County Sheriff's Department. Her handler, Deputy Dara Guerra, has requested to purchase Kira for $1. This will be moved from consent to recognition after approval of the agenda. And then the addition of item 5J for consent, approval of reappointment of Robbie City, Robert Holland, and Eric Hopper to the Hunting and Wildlife Advisory Committee for a 3-year term expiring January 2026.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
And seconded. Further discussion here, none. All in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. Would you come forward?
Thank you. Commissioners, it's an honor and pleasure to be here tonight.
Sam, the camera's that way.
I know that. Okay. I'm a little shy. But it is an honor and a pleasure to be here tonight to recognize Kira. Kira has worked with us for 10 years. Tonight is actually her birthday. And she's been an excellent canine. She's trained in all different, she's dual trained in narcotics detection and also all other phases of what the canines are trained in to protect the handler, and also tracking and other skills. But Kira will be retiring tonight. I can say personally, I've caught the dog on a few occasions, and Kira has been able to put me down on the ground a few times in training. So I've got a good dog, but she's got a great handler. Dara has done a great job with the Sheriff's Office. She's been with us for several years now, and she's an excellent canine handler. And again, like I said, it's a sad time when we have to retire our canines. Being a former military canine handler, I had several dogs, and Kira's looking at me kind of funny right now. But anyway, we do appreciate your service. And Kira, we appreciate your service to the citizens of Rockingham County, protecting and serving every day. And I have a little certificate here I'd like to present. The Rockingham County Sheriff's Office, and a certificate of recognition is hereby awarded to Canine Kira for her years of service to the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office and the citizens of Rockingham County, January 17, 2023. And we also have a plaque. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Captain. And the plaque says, Rockingham County Sheriff's Office. It's got a beautiful picture of Kira, presented to Canine Kira in recognition of your loyal and devoted service to the Rockingham County Sheriff's Office and the citizens of Rockingham County, retiring 2022, always faithful. We want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, Kira. Let's give him a hand, please.
Sam, does a handler want to have a word?
Kira, Dara, would you like to say something? All right, you go ahead.
I just want to say thank you, Sheriff, and to the Sheriff's Office for the opportunity. They allow me to be a canine handler for the community. It's been a long journey for us, and it's been quite an experience. It has been very rewarding to be able to handle canine and to have the success that we've had, and just, again, the experience has been the most rewarding of all. So thank you, the Sheriff's Office for allowing me to do that. We've been together for a long time. We've been a canine team for about 9 years now. And, if I had more years ahead, I probably would take on another canine, but, I don't know if I have enough years to do that for the Sheriff's Office. That's all. And thank you, guys.
Thank you.
When you become a canine handler, the canine becomes your partner, and when you're off duty, becomes your friend and your family. And so again, I look forward to Kira having a great continuation and your relationship, and we appreciate your continued service to the citizens of Rockingham County. You're a great team. Let's give them a hand. Thank you. Oh, we need to take pictures. Oh.
It's a pretty dog. Yes.
Yeah, we do that.
Is there any way that we could move just a little bit closer to the center? Just, yeah, to the chair. Do y'all mind standing up?
Come on, man.
Oh, you
Okay, you were fine. Sorry.
Sorry. Perfect.
Thank you.
That's from motion.
Yeah. Sheriff, just out of curiosity, is Kira's replacement on the job yet?
Not yet, not yet. We will be looking, and probably a few months down the road, but we want to make sure that we get the right canine to do what we need.
Thank you to you and all your staff. That's a great night. Gentlemen, we need to have a motion.
Motion to approve the purchase of Kira.
Moved in second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. Gentlemen, you've also had the consent item. I would remind folks that the consent items that are on our agenda here are generally non-controversial. And if you have questions concerning any of them, please contact our county manager, Lance Metzler, and he'll be glad to explain them to you. That said, do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all indicate by a sound of aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. Our next item, 6 on your agenda, is public comment. And before we do public comment, and by the way, the words that we'll put forth in regard to public comment will be valid for the public hearing as well. Would the county manager please explain the procedure?
Sure, Mr. Chair. The public comment period shall be for the purpose of allowing members of the public to present any matter pertaining to county business or items on the Board of Commissioners' agenda. Remarks shall be addressed directly to the Board of Commissioners, not to the staff, the audience, or media. The chairperson shall open the public comment period. Any speaker who wishes to speak shall approach the podium and not speak from his or her seat. Each speaker should clearly state his or her name and physical address when he or she approaches the podium. Any citizen shall be allotted 3 minutes. Citizens will be allowed to yield their time on a specific topic by utilizing one more attendee's time. This would allow no more than 6 minutes. Your time will be displayed on the monitor up front. The clock will start with 3 minutes unless yielded time to 6 minutes. You will hear a beep at 1 minute to alert you to wrap up your comments. If you already yield your time or time is yielded to you, then please let the chairperson know in advance. Speakers appearing before the Board of Commissioners will not be allowed to campaign for public office, promote private business ventures, or use language of a personal nature which insults or demeans any person or which, when directed at a public official, is not related to his or her official duties. The Board of Commissioners may accept written comments in lieu of oral statements. Written statements can be delivered to the county manager's office. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That stated, the first person to speak is Johnny White.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners. My name is Johnny White, and my address is 4655 Price Road in Stoneville. I'm here with my friend Curtis Pierce, and we are representing the Rockingham County Veterans Park. And we're not asking for any money, I'll clarify that. About 4 years ago, we decided that we needed an upgrade to the park, and we needed to replace that aging wooden kiosk that was over there that had the names on 42 typewritten pages. And of course, typewritten pages don't do good in the weather. So we started looking for an alternative by placing an electronic kiosk. COVID got in the way, and of course, things slowed down to a crawl and basically stopped for a couple of years. But about a year ago, we made the decision to make a purchase. We had some local industries and some local citizens that donated money, and incidentally, the cost was approximately $21,000, and we raised all of that money by individuals and corporate sponsorship. But when we got to the kiosk, we found out that we needed an internet connection. The internet connection was not available over there. I talked with Derek Southern, and he and I discussed the possibility of using the Wi-Fi from this building. And consequently, the Wi-Fi works wonderful. The kiosk is up and running now. When you approach the kiosk, all you got to do is touch the touch screen, and a little menu search button will come up. You touch that search button, you can type the name of any veteran, and there's approximately 1,900 veterans' names on those stones. Once you type that name in, it will tell you which stone, which column, and which line on that column, and it will show you a graphic that points to exactly the side of that stone that name is located on. So you can make it's very easy to find a name. And I just wanted to let you know that it's up and running. It's not complete yet. With 1,900 names, it takes a little time to key that in. My wife is doing that now, and she's got made some good progress on it. But the information that we're putting on there is the name, the veteran, the place that they're located, and with the information we have, which branch of service they served in and the years of their service, if we have that information. And so I'd just like to let you know that it is up and running, and we appreciate the county allowing us the opportunity to put that out along with that Veterans Park. And boy, I see the time is gone. So thank you.
We give you any time you want. We appreciate your contribution to the county and the service that you and your team has provided in the past. Thank you, Mr. White.
I would add that there is the Veterans Park has got an email address, and comes up on the screen that you can, if you find any mistakes on that kiosk, you can email those mistakes, and we will get them corrected, or any additions of information that we don't have, it can be emailed, and we will be monitoring that email to keep that kiosk updated. I encourage you to go take a look at it sometime at your convenience, and it's quite an improvement.
Yeah, it sounds that way. It sounds like something we ought to put on our county website.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. White was our only public speaker there in general comment section. However, we will have some public hearings around case number 2022-23. And Mr. Marzee, if you would come forward.
Now's the time to say point of order, open the public hearing. Good evening, y'all.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, we need to open the public hearing.
Now, we're going to hear the case and then open the public hearing.
All right, well, as long as we remember to open the public hearing. Thank you.
This is rezoning case 2022-23. It's a request for a zoning map amendment, rezoning from light industrial conditional use district to light industrial conditional use district. Well, actually to conditional district now. This is for the purpose of a site plan amendment. As y'all know, when you do a site plan amendment through conditional zoning, we have to come back and redo it again through conditional zoning. This is located at 161 Gold Hill Road in New Bethel Township. The planning board in November did vote unanimously to recommend approval. We're located in our southwest quadrant of the county. This is the small LI that's there hashed in for you, right there right off Gold Hill. It's surrounded by several RA parcels. Nothing really on the environmental map of concern. And it's in our G3 land class for the future land use development, which does call for more intense growth. Here's the site plan proposal, which I know is hard to see on this screen. But the site plan amendment would be, allowing for a new warehouse to be located in that little hash line in the southern part. The hash line in the northern part is the existing building. There's a dashed line going through those buildings that you can see the 50-foot setback that would be the traditional setback of our current ordinance. At the time of construction of the original building, it's about 17 feet off the actual property line over there on the side. The southern new warehouse proposed would be roughly 38 feet to 39 feet from one side to the other off the property line. Still encroaches in that 50 foot that is the current, but not really that at the time of this original approval of the building. As I said, it is in our G3 land class corridor. It is part of our land use plan to be consistent by helping economic development goals with existing industrial purposes to expand their operations, hopefully on site so they don't need to locate elsewhere. But I'll take any questions of you at this time, if you have them.
Do we have any questions before I open the public hearing? Hearing no questions there, I will open the public hearing at this time for case number 2022-23.
Is there any slide that you would like me to leave this on?
Not for me, but
That one's fine. Leave it to that one.
right. Now, I have two people signed up to speak in the public hearing. However, it's not defined as to if they want to speak to this case or the next case. So is there anybody that needs to speak to case 2022-23?
No, he didn't sign up.
Is there anybody that failed to sign up but came in consideration of this case? Hearing nobody, I will close the public hearing.
I think we had a hand. He had his hand up behind Diane.
I'm here representing it, and I'll be happy to speak, but
Oh, yeah,
I've done before, so I don't know necessarily that I need to speak, but we'd be happy to if
Come on up and state your name, and make sure we get your name and address.
It's name's Jonathan Bradshaw, and property address is 161 Gold Hill Road, Madison, North Carolina. And I'm here representing, us in the case. I was saying I'm not familiar with the process. I don't know that I need to speak, but I'm here if anyone would like to speak or what have you, answer any questions. I'll be happy to speak to you on our behalf.
Gentlemen, do you have any questions of Mr. Bradshaw?
Not this time.
Not at this time. We
Okay.
we can call you back, but I believe you've done your due diligence, as we say.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this matter? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn the case over to the Board of Commissioners here. Do I have motion, comments, questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve it. I just got to figure out which one of these I read.
The draft motions, it'd be the conditional one on the second.
All right, so then, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve this rezoning request to the requested zoning district based upon the consistency and reasonableness determination. Statements that are included in the agenda submitted during the rezoning presentation and as may be amended, incorporated into the motion to be included in the minutes, as well as all agreed upon conditions also incorporated into the motion. I like this much better when it was statements and analysis.
Well, I didn't know these particular statements had been approved yet. I thought we were going to have some discussion about that. Wasn't that binding your agreement there, Mr. Berger?
I'm good at this point. I'll second the motion.
Motion moved and second. Further discussion on the Gold Hill property. Hearing none, all in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. Jonathan, you must have done a remarkable job.
I think that's adequate. It's reasonable.
Case number 2022-24.
Yes, this is a request for a zoning map amendment, rezoning from residential protected to residential agricultural. The location is 144 Honey Road in the Huntsville Township. This is a straight non-conditional rezoning. The planning board in their November meeting did vote unanimously to recommend approval. As again, this is another rezoning in our southwestern quadrant of the county. As you see right here, it's on the corner of, well, it's Honey Road. I don't know exactly what the other, it's a right-of-way there that comes up and down. It's surrounded by a bunch of residential protected. There is a mixture of homes in the general vicinity, but however, in residential protected area, it's a standard single-family dwellings. There's nothing really in the environmental map that would be affected by this area. It is on the very cusp of our, I just blanked. That's our, it's our O2 land class, which does call for preservation of open space, residential agricultural development, and continuation of low-density residential. And to that, I'll take any questions if you have them.
I heard the planning board recommendation. What was staff's recommendation?
Staff recommendation was to deny solely based on the character of the existing surrounding abutting lots. The feeling was that not all allowed residential agricultural uses would be a good fit for that neighborhood, not just taking into consideration the sole use of the reason for application.
And for everybody, could you state what the sole use for the application was?
I believe the applicant is attempting to put a manufactured home in there.
Okay, thank you.
When was it changed from RA to RP?
I believe this has always been RP. Yeah, when we instituted zoning in '88, this area was just, like most of our RP, there's just clusters of RP throughout since y'all instituted, or since the county instituted zoning in '88. It's just the way it's been. I don't know any rhyme or reason to some of these areas. It's just some of the neighborhoods were just labeled that way.
But about 98% of the county converted to RA when the zoning was instituted in 88, right?
Yes.
And you're saying you can't think of any rhyme or reason this went to RP?
The only thing that I haven't been able to find anything in our previous minutes when we instituted zoning, other than a few other neighborhoods throughout the county had requested those kind of things. So I can only assume, without any facts, that this area had requested to be zoned RP instead of RA when we instituted zoning. Okay. But I don't have any factual evidence one way or the other to that.
You have a question?
Yes. So you were saying that it's close to a different land use area. Every one of our zoning areas is going to be close to somebody's going to be on the edge of another zoning area. Mm-hmm. Is that not correct?
Yes, sir.
So it looks like to me that the purpose behind zoning is to, I realize if it's an RA and maybe we can rezone something there, but RP is one of the most protected areas we have. Is that correct?
Yes and no. I know that sounds weird. It's got a lot of just basic residential uses. However, prior to this current ordinance, the county would still allow manufactured housing in RP with a special use permit. So even since we instituted zoning, it's never really blocked out all housing types until our latest amendment. There was still a method for that to still be included in the RP zones.
But that would have had to been with a special permit?
With a special use permit, yes.
Is that something that's voted on by this body, or is it just awarded by your office?
It's voted on by the planning board now.
Oh, I got you.
In '88, most likely it would have been voted by both boards. Those trends changed over time, but when we instituted zoning and special uses, it would have gone before both boards. And we have several cases. We heard one a few months ago on the southeast side of the county. Half the neighborhood is manufactured housing, even though the entire neighborhood's RP. And most of those are through special use permits, and some were prior to zoning. So it's not that the name says protected, but it's not exactly like it's a protected class. It was just a designation, if that makes sense.
I might make a comment. I know this property pretty well. I used to own property on Cartwright Drive. And I believe what Mr. Marziano was talking about is the proposed construction or addition of a housing unit is very consistent with what's already there. So the nomenclature for the naming of the zoning is kind of superfluous. Other questions? Go ahead.
Well, so with those comments, am I to understand that there are other manufactured homes in this RP district?
I can't speak to, I didn't drive all the way up and down Cartwright, but in the RP surrounding Honey and directly abutting this property, no, those are stick built. When you come out on Stanley, there are some manufactured housing within, I'd say, a couple 100 feet, not in the direct RP zones in that area. I will say I fully admit I didn't drive all the way down Cartwright to take appearances, but there are some in the general vicinity of it, just not in the RP immediately adjacent.
Go ahead.
So let me ask you a question. When we're doing this, consistency is a huge issue when you're talking about zoning. So how do we explain that we're being consistent if we rezone a piece of property that's smack dab in the middle of an RP area, and then we don't rezone one that's on the edge of an RP area? I mean, how are we going to explain it? If that's looked at by somebody higher than we are? How do we explain that?
I don't have an answer for you on that one. That's something we've dealt with professionally all the time. What we're looking for consistency with is any of our plans. And my usual answer to that typically is our plan is a 20-year plan. It's what we think the county should look like in 2040. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to look that way in 2023. It may not be ready and suitable at this time. It may be ready and suitable in 5, 10, 15 years. But that's where the consistency comes from, is being still, we're required to adopt a consistency statement, period. But whether the local jurisdiction is ready for it to actually, even if it is consistent or not, whether it's ready for it or not, is still in y'all's hands to make that determination. And if it's challenged, I can't say that, I mean, there's no consistent way it's been upheld one way or the other. It's always looked at a case-by-case basis. So it's wiggle room. I know it sounds weird and passing it off that way, but we can be consistent with a plan and be unreasonable. Something can be reasonable and not consistent. When we approve something that's not consistent, state law now stipulates that we automatically update the plans that related to it and show that it'd be consistent that way because you've determined it to be in line with what you want. So in a nebulous way, your decisions determine consistency post and pre decision.
Vice Chair Hall.
Yeah, Marzie, when we're talking about consistency, could that also relate to being consistent with the other properties in the area and the other uses? In other words, what I heard a lot was consistency with regard to plans and documents. But when you go out there and look at the neighborhood, just the appearance of it, is that also included in consistency?
From the state law, not really. That's where the reasonableness statement comes in. Is it reasonable for this area to be different than the other houses in the area? That's where the reasonableness statement comes in as part of what we're required to adopt. Okay. We put them together, but technically you can adopt them as separate statements too. I call it the current land use map versus the future land use map. Our zoning map is our current land use map. How much of that we take stock in when we have something that we have a vision for, that's up to y'all to figure the reasonableness of changing it now versus changing it in the future. If that even at all.
One more question. And it sounds like from what you said that this was originally adopted as RP, and it doesn't sound like this board or the planning board made a change at any point since we instituted, based on what your findings.
Right, and also I can't determine where anyone has ever brought a case before the board to change in this area either.
Okay, thank you.
And that year was 1988.
Yes, sir, when we instituted zoning.
Question?
June of '88, I believe.
Mr. Berger?
Houston. I'm good.
Oh, Houston.
I'm good.
You good?
Yeah.
I'm good. I'll let you go.
Everybody good? All right, that said, if there are no more questions, I will open the public hearing. At this time, we have two people signed up. Amy Phillips is the first one. Ms. Phillips, if you come forward, just state your case and give us your name and address.
Amy Phillips, and it will be for 144 Honey Road in Stokesdale, 27357. So I'm just telling my story, right? That's just what you guys wanted. I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to be rambling on.
You own the property, so I suggest you let us know what you want to happen.
Okay, so me and my husband found a really good deal on a prefab home or modular home, like he was saying, manufactured home, excuse me, it's a very nice home. It was a couple that had retired and they thought they were going to spend the rest of their life in it, and then they moved to Florida, so we got it at a really good price. And we got it knowing that it was such a good price that we're on rented land right now in Reedsville. And we knew that it was such a good price that, you know, we just needed to get the home and we could get land at some point later. And my grandfather lives on 170 Honey Road, and he suggested, he has several acres that are mapped out kind of funny because he's sold some of them off and whatnot. But he has several acres out there, and he came to me and my husband and suggested to gift us an acre. Which actually will be across the, well, it's kind of funny on the map, but I will be right across on Honey Road from my sister. Will eventually build a stick-built home across the street. He's already told her, so it's kind of a bunch of family out there. But and when we did this, we were not aware that it wasn't zoned properly. This is our first home, so I wasn't really aware of all of the processes and everything. But oh, yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry, I'm nervous.
That's all right. No, relax. We just wanted to know how you stood as a property owner.
Yes.
Okay, Danny Dameron.
Hi, my name's Danny Dameron. I live at 170 Honey Road currently. I'm the father of Amy, and my father owns all of this land, and there's about 16 acres total that are involved. Originally, I was just going to speak, just signed up just so if there are any questions. I'm kind of the unofficial overseer of this project, I guess you could say, and just as far as the future of what this land is for, I have another daughter that wants to move into the same area. I'm going to inherit, Dad's 90 years old, Mom's 87. Okay, so I'm going to inherit all of this land and everything. So eventually it's going to be like a little family community. That's what it is. So it's a very nice home that she has. That's the only intent. But we're basically going to have a little family there. I intend to die there myself. Okay, so this will be in the family. This will be in the family for quite some years. So.
Well, I hope that's not impending there, Mr. Dameron. So.
Well, I hope I go past 2040 also. But anyhow, just to let you know that, this is sort of a family unit here that we've got going on. So that's what this is all about.
It strikes me, Mr. Dameron, if you anticipate all of these folks coming in, you'll be going through the same zoning process if the proposed edifice building is the same sort.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm a little bit hard of hearing, sorry.
If it becomes a family unit, you may have to deal with this question multiple times.
Well, there's only one other and we didn't really anticipate this until she had actually bought the land. So we really did not anticipate this. So, we're at kind of a halt right now as to what's going to happen.
I've been surprised by bureaucracy in the past. I believe, Houston, you were first.
I just have a question. Marzi, could you pull back up the map of the RPRA?
While they have the timer, I can.
Okay, so. Well, never mind. Then my question was going to be, it sounds like you guys have a substantial amount of land. And as I'm looking at this, how much of this RP belongs to you guys? Or how much of this RA belongs to you guys?
Okay. Do you see where the YRD on where it says YRD at Honey Road? Okay, yeah. Where the purple is, the YRD.
Right.
His piece of property, he also owns that, and he also owns that directly across from that. And he owns those three that are just across from that go all the way back down to Cartwright Road. So if you own that down at Cartwright Road, you know where the creek is? He owns back to the creek and a little bit across the creek.
I guess what the point I'm trying to get at is that, so your family owns a lot of these properties that'll be touching up against and directly across the street from this area. So as far as other people that'll be affected by this, it's mostly you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically.
Thank
you.
So the land that your father or you own, is it adjacent to the RA? Marzi, can you help with that? If y'all could stick on that map, that'd be great.
So all the property you're talking about is north of the Honey Road and across that right of way?
Yes.
Yeah, the property they would own would touch the northern RA.
So, and I think what Commissioner Richardson was getting at, if you've got another family member coming to the area, across the street, you could do multiple properties with one rezoning application and possibly simplify the whole process.
Well, the other daughter's probably not going to move for another couple of years.
Well, you're going to have some time because we can't do this tonight. That's another application process.
I'm saying you don't necessarily have to do each property, but you could certainly simplify the process and simplify questions that may come at you for this one being in the middle. So do all of them at one time.
I might be.
Daughter has a word.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I might be misunderstanding your question, but if you're talking about needing to rezone for where my sister's going to build, that will be a stick-built home, so I don't think it will need rezoning, if that answers that question. I might be totally wrong on that, but I think that's what you were asking. Just going to say that.
We're just bringing it up for your own information.
No, that's totally fine.
We're just going to deal with this purple and white stripe bit right here.
Yeah.
One other questions of Mr. Dameron?
I'm sorry.
No, I'm asking them if they have more questions. Go ahead, Mr. Powell.
So let me make sure that I understand. The property north of there is your family, the property south of there is your family, the property east is your family, and the property west. So we don't have any other ownership that's touching this block that we're looking to rezone.
The only one that is touching that is the RP that is looking at the map to the left of the purple stripe.
Right there at the intersection, the corner lot.
Correct, right there at the intersection of Stanley and Honey Road.
Okay.
And there's actually kind of a wooded barrier between those as well.
Okay. Thank you. Questions or comments? Hearing none, I'm going to, unless you have more to say, I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up to the commissioners' discussions or motions.
I make a motion to approve this property rezoning to the requested zoning district based upon the consistency and reasonableness determination statements that are included in the agenda submitted during the rezoning presentation and as may be amended, incorporated into the motion to be included in the minutes.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. So that's approved.
Thanks, Joe.
You can anticipate your dad's supervision firsthand there, Ms. Phillips. We have another presentation, our Sheriff Sam Page.
Be a very, very brief presentation. My understanding, we're here for approval. Rockingham County School System has agreed to pay for 83% of the salary and benefits for 4 new school resource officers in the amount of $219,443, and for the county to pay 17% of the salary benefits for 4 new school resource officers at $44,947. We've been having discussion for a long time, and we've moved forward. And I just want to say that this will be very beneficial to the school system, to our elementary schools. Currently, we have 2 elementary school resource officers that cover 6 schools. And with these 4 additional resource officers, we'll be able to cover all 6 elementary schools will have a school resource officer. And that'll complement that. And as soon as we get the approval, I'll be getting with finance, and we'll begin advertising for resource officers to cover those positions. And I'm prepared to answer any questions you have.
Well, this is a little bit off. I think everybody up here is fairly familiar with this case. But when you're recruiting, soliciting applications for SRO, does the criteria vary from what you ask of other deputies?
Well, let me first off say the state requires that all school resource officers have to be certified 40-hour school resource officer training course approved by the Justice Academy. So that has to be done. We will open this up within our sheriff's office personnel and also outside personnel for those positions, to get the best qualified people to fill those positions. You may have somebody apply that's a currently certified officer, which everybody has to be, and the person may be already certified as a school resource.
What, everybody has to be a certified officer?
Absolutely. They have to by state standard. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Questions, gentlemen?
I've got a question or two more for Lance than the sheriff. So I believe this grant is 83%, and from or towards the cost for the school system, and we're picking up 17% out of the general fund.
Yes, sir.
The grant covers 100% of the school system's expense as far as the officer's salary. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that's consistent with prior grants.
Yes, sir.
And I believe in the past, we have always picked up that 17% out of our general fund.
Yes, sir.
So any of these grants have been for the benefit of the school system, but, we've certainly received additional personnel at a reduced cost, but we're actually having to pay the amount for the county, and we're not getting any credit for that grant.
That's correct.
So, and I know that's consistent with the way things have happened in the past. And I believe the conversations with the school system have been to further commit. I believe this is a 2-year grant, and I believe the conversations have been to further commit for us to pay the 17% in perpetuity, and they've committed to picking up the 83%, whether it's through grant or out of their own funds.
That's my understanding, yes, sir.
I will say in future grants for anything where the county is responsible for part of the money, and this doesn't just apply for SROs or Sheriff's Department, this would be for anything, I'd like to see us get credit when possible for some of the grant money, to where the agency or department that is applying for the grant, there's some, they're not getting 100% of the grant money. It's being shared based on where that money's coming from overall.
So they're skin in the game for both organizations?
Yes, and I'm not saying that for this grant at all. I mean, I don't want to change the game in the middle of the process for anything, but certainly moving forward, I think we ought to be able to get credit for, towards our expense.
Sure.
But with that, I mean, I'm certainly in favor of us picking up the 17% in perpetuity for
the 2 years, and unless the schools obviously will commit for the rest of that, and if they do, then recommend the 17% for in perpetuity.
Yes.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Motion made
Second.
and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. Thank you, Sheriff Sam.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Messer.
Mr. Carter. Oh, no, we got Ronnie Tate first.
I think I was next. All right, sorry. Good evening, gentlemen. I've got.
Don't ever forget brevity's the soul of wit.
I'm sorry.
Brevity's the soul of wit.
I have 2 items tonight for the board's consideration, and the first one is in regards to a countywide comprehensive parks and recreation master plan. I hope you're aware, I am a member of the county's Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and we came to you guys, it's been a while back, requesting matching funding for a master plan. We had hoped at the time and thought that the advisory board could secure funding to offset the additional cost for a master plan. Unfortunately, our group was not able to secure any additional funding. We looked at 2 agencies and got turned down by both. And so tonight, I'm here to request the full amount for the Comprehensive Parks and Rec Master Plan, which is $55,000. We did an RFQ for the design services. Destination by Design was the group that the committee selected. And if the board chooses to approve this tonight, if you would approve the budget amendment that is included in your packet as well. And I'll be glad to try to answer any questions I can.
Questions, gentlemen?
Is this the same trail that we were partnering with the college on? Do I remember that? I believe it was before I was on the board. But
This isn't for the trail. This is for the master plan only for the Parks and Rec in the entire county.
I think he's asking the scope and scale of what's going to be covered. The entire county?
Yes, sir. So this would be This plan would cover every form of recreation we have in the county, whether it's a ball field or basketball court, the pickleball courts in Reidsville, for instance. Those would be included and incorporated into this plan. So that's why it's called a comprehensive plan. It lists all of those assets that the county has, and Destination by Design would come back and say, okay, and for example, they may say you're lacking 2 soccer fields. You need them in this area. And that's what we recommend based on your population and what you have and where it's located at. Those are the types of things you would see from this plan once it's complete.
But the initiation of anything within the plan would be as an individual item and addressed separately.
Yes, sir. There would be no action taken by us or county staff without bringing it back to the board in the future for consideration and approval to take that action at that time.
Mr. Chair, if I could ask Ronnie a question real quick, and I'm sorry, I didn't review this, but in the Destination by Design, their lump sum is $86,400. Is that something different than the?
Yeah, so that was the original price they submitted back to us. We went back to them to ask them if they could use a plan that DARPA is working on currently right now and is about to complete.
Gotcha.
And incorporate that into our comprehensive master plan. And there's also one that Lindsay is working on with tourism. I think it's core plan, is that correct? And they would incorporate that information into ours as well to lower those costs down from 86 to 55.
So we've amended the budget already for the 35. We just need the additional.
No, because the
That's right, it was on a
35 was to be a match, and we never secured additional funding to cover that.
But we've allocated 35, but to a different purpose.
No, the 35 was never allocated. It was supposed to be a match if the Parks and Rec Advisory Board could secure additional funding, and we were not able to. So that money was never, in a budget amendment, was never allocated. No, sir.
So it's $55,000 you need.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Other questions?
May I have the floor for a moment? So, Ronnie, this is my first time being on this side of the podium while this has been going on, but I've been following this for a while now. I believe you guys first came for this matching $35,000 grant that you're talking about back in August of 2021. And the thought process behind that was that the Park and Recs Board wanted to have buy-in from the commissioners to show that we weren't going to leave them out to dry because they would have to apply for grants and that sort of thing.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
The comments that were made by the secretary at the time of your advisory board was that they needed to get that commitment because federal grants, state grants want to see that you have a matching grant up front in order to get the funds. And then you had expressed to me that you guys had not applied for any state or federal grants to match. Is that correct? In order to complete the master plan?
That is correct. Those would come when you go to implement the results of the master plan, like whether it's adding trails or if it's the ball fields or whatever. That's when you would apply for Part F or federal funding for those items.
Well, I appreciate that, but thanks to the good people at Rockingham Update, anybody could go back and look at that meeting. Yeah. That's not what was expressed.
Okay.
Because I watched it today. Then in October of 2021, you guys came back for the Blues Lake Park and common areas, the bathrooms and all that. Mm-hmm. And the board previously put forward, I think it was $93,000 for that,
sure, that sounds
based
correct.
on the need for expanding recreation in the county. And basically where I'm getting at is that I feel like, I believe Commissioner Berger at a previous meeting had talked about information trickling in and we're not really getting the flood. Can you answer for me how many people that work for the recreation departments and municipalities serve on your board?
Currently, none.
Okay, and can you answer the city of Eden and city of Reidsville, do they already have a master plan for parks and recreation for their municipalities?
Yes, sir, they do. Mm-hmm.
And is there anything that would suggest that the municipalities would have to follow our master plan if we seek one?
No, none whatsoever, no.
And I think Houston actually was able to get answers to some of my questions. So it sounds like this plan is really for rivers, trails, and that's about it.
No,
Well, we don't have a recreation department.
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay, so Wentworth has, you can say a recreation department. I mean, it's as far as offering youth sports, it's offered in Wentworth. You also have it out at Bethany. You have the City of Eden, City of Reedsville. As far as inside at Stoneville, things at the Madison Med Recreation Department. So none of those groups are involved in this organization at all. So even outside, expanding a little bit on Commissioner Barrow's question, in the unincorporated areas, we do have some youth programs, and none of those are involved in the committee. Is that right?
I don't think so, no, sir.
Okay. So that tells me that the board is made up of folks more interested or that have vested interest, maybe not more interested, but vested interest in the trails, the rivers, but not necessarily in youth recreation. I mean, and that's what it's telling me. So I'm not sure that we've got a board that is comprised of what we need.
Okay.
I know when we first started down this path, I thought we were headed in that direction, but we, for whatever reason, it ended up being something that kind of steered away from youth sports. And while there is some economic benefit for the trails, or from the trails and from the rivers, it is not the same economic benefit as you get from youth activity. And maybe that's more opinion, but it's certainly based on who comes to watch and how they get there. So I don't know.
One thing just to address your comment. Back to the board itself. We've had a very challenging time just finding members to fill the seats, the vacant seats we have, and to have quorum. So we're struggling with that, and we've advertised for new members. We don't get a lot of response back, so that's and I'm sure that's a problem with a lot of committees, but we have struggled with that. But this master plan is to take a look at, it will include trails and the rivers, but it's also supposed to look at those broader items like ball fields, soccer fields, basketball courts, all of those things, swimming pools, all of it, and make a recommendation back to you all as a board and say, hey, this is where we feel this county is deficient, whether it's a soccer field or a baseball field, whatever that is. And then hopefully you all would say, okay, we want to pursue getting a ball field here or soccer field, whatever that may be. But it is supposed to, being a comprehensive plan, it is supposed to look at all recreation in the county.
So, and what I've heard tonight is basically we're on the hook for 100% of it. We're not getting any grant money.
That's correct.
All right. I don't have any more questions. Once questions are over, I do have something else.
Commissioner Powell has a question.
So let me ask you, Ronnie, when we do this comprehensive study and they come back, well, first of all, when we do a comprehensive study and somebody's going to tell us we need a ball field, who makes that?
Somebody's going to tell us what?
When we do a comprehensive study and somebody comes back and tells us we need a ball field, who determines that?
I think the group that we've selected, Destination by Design, they do master plans for a lot of different or the groups or counties or cities. And so there are standards for the demographics of our county, the population, those types of things that they look at. And they look at the inventory of the current assets and they say, okay, with your population, with your demographics, you need a ball field. And I'll just make it up over in the western side of the county. So they have standards that they look at to make those determinations.
So my question is, if we're going to spend $50,000 or somewhere through that, would we not be better off to partner with the cities or the school system or somebody that's in the recreation business? It sounds like to me if we get this back and it makes a recommendation that we build a ball field or 2 ball fields or a stadium or whatever they come back with, what we're going to eventually end up with is another department in this county that's going to be handling those requests. Am I on the right track?
I think it's possible, yeah.
So we already have, the city of Reidsville has a very viable parks and recreation system. Madison Mayodan does, Eden does. The county school system has a tremendous sports program in all of their schools. Various ones are different sports. I'm just beginning to wonder, would we not be better off to pony up some money and help them out instead of getting some group in here to tell us maybe what we need based on somebody's idea of what the demographics of our county may call for?
I think that is up to you gentlemen to decide. So
that kind of touches on where my thought process was going, and that is I'd like to see us just table this and allow some discussion with the cities to see what buy-in we may have from the cities before we spend any money. And maybe they'll contribute to it, maybe they won't, maybe they don't want any buy-in, but certainly if we don't have buy-in from those with recreation departments, then we know that we have narrowed the scope, and if we decided to move forward with a narrowed scope, then it may be much cheaper if we decided to move forward at that point. Just my thought.
I do have a question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, please.
So, to piggyback on what Commissioner Berger said, when this committee was formed, the municipalities were offered to have a seat at the table. Some of the other areas, Huntsville, Bethany, were additionally offered since they had strong sports programs. It just seems that we're struggling for community support. It feels like the county, every time the county has moved forward, we agreed to the $35,000. We've agreed to the $93,000 as Commissioner Barrow spoke. Others were going to participate. Others were going to do different things. And a lot of it just seems to have fallen flat at this point. So Commissioner Berger's comment, I'll agree. I don't know if you put that in the form of a motion, but I do agree that maybe we need to take a pause with this, see if we can generate some support in the community, because so far I feel like we're pushing an agenda that the community is really not supporting. I mean, that's the way I feel.
At least overall, from us being involved in some of that, I agree. And maybe it's a communication thing, but
it could be. And to Mr. Tate's point, he said, COVID did hurt a lot of things, but we need to. I think we need a little time to get things back together and try to rebuild this committee if it's going to work, and try to get some more interest. Go ahead.
Did you finish? Okay, I just wanted to add, when we looked at the creation of this committee, we had looked at people in certain areas of the county, not necessarily in the cities, because the cities already had their programs and plans. So we looked for people on this committee that were outside of those areas, because they were part of the unincorporated parts of the county, because this was county parks and recreation, the same with the comprehensive plan to, to support. We want to include the things that the cities have, but this is for people outside of those municipalities. So that was sort of the thought process at the time. And, if the board wants to change that or go a different direction, just please let us know, and we can work towards that.
Well, but what I heard tonight was preparing a plan that would include what's within the cities.
It all gets encompassed in so that I think it gets encompassed in so that when you go to look and say you need X amount of baseball fields, well, we know we have 5. You need 3 more. So it gets as a reference in that master plan.
Houston Mayor.
Yes, sir. So, Ronnie, to your point, my concern is that if we're looking at these unincorporated areas, then you're coming back to the commissioners asking us to pay for ball fields, right? I mean, that.
Well, that would certainly be up to you, gentlemen, or whoever's on the board at that time. If the report comes back and says that, and we were to bring it back to the board, and you say, if you decide it's something you want to support, then yes, at that time. But again, it's always a board decision if you want to support it or not. If the board doesn't feel it's important, then that's okay.
The reason I ask is that, as we've stated, we don't have a park and recreation department.
Exactly.
We don't want a park and recreation department. And then if that's what the master plan says we need to do, well, I probably won't be on the board at that point. But somebody will say, oh, look, it says we need to build a ball field. And people wonder why, in this conservative area, why does government grow? And that's how.
Yeah.
So,
well, I will say this, in our RFQ for soliciting design services, part of the message we sent out in that was the county does not want to be in the parks and recreation business. We don't want to have a department for parks and recreation. How can you, what can you provide for us in the way of a master plan to support that? So the design teams were aware of that fact. The board, our advisory board, is very much aware of it. So we all understand, I think, the board's thoughts on not having another department. So we're trying to work around that as well, too. So
thank you, Ron.
All right.
Mr. Hall.
So it sounds like what you have said is that the municipalities could benefit from this plan.
So when we've talked to them about this, we've said, if you guys, and I'll use an example because they're smaller, for town of Madison, if you want to update your plan while we're going through this process, there'll be a cost associated with it. If you want to pay that and work with us, you can get your plan updated by destination by design at a lesser cost while they're doing this whole project. But Reidsville and Eden's plans, my understanding from them is that their plans are fairly up to date. They're happy with them. They don't want theirs updated. I think it would be for the smaller municipalities if they chose to go that route.
But to your point earlier, you said, for example, if Eden had 5 baseball fields, and this plan says, well, you need 2 more baseball fields. Mm-hmm. If that would point that out for the city of Eden, is that unrealistic, or did I not hear that right?
You heard it correctly, and I think that might be a possibility. I don't know what we will get back from, if we move forward with it. I'm not sure what the results will be.
I understand, but what I'm saying is the potential would be there. Mm-hmm. For these other, Eden and Reidsville as well.
Yes, sir.
By backing out and taking a county-wide view of the situation, it may highlight some needs that the cities may not be aware of.
That's certainly correct. Yes, sir.
Well,
Commissioner Powell.
So I think the reason that I would like to see the cities involved in this is because they have much more experience in that. And knowing that we don't want another department, not only is somebody going to have to pay for the creation of that, but somebody's going to have to manage it. And those would be best turned over to the city if we're talking about ball fields and stuff. So I think us sending a request to the cities to please be involved in this so that we have some plan. In other words, I don't know that I want to spend $50,000 to get a master plan, and as Commissioner Barrett was saying, some other group down the road said, well, no, we're not building a ball field. Well, I certainly understand that, but we've already spent $50,000 now to get to that point. So I think there needs to be a viable option to say that if we get this plan and we're going to have some chance of following it or implementing it, then we need to go ahead and have partners in it that can help manage it or take care of it, much like we do our water and sewer. You know, we partner with Madison, Mayodan, those guys. So I think that's the reason that I know it's the reason I would like to see the cities involved in this, is for the future of this once we get past the plan, if we do that.
Okay.
Gentlemen, I think there have been many valid points there. I, for one, I'd like to talk to Lindsay and Darba and all these folks, because I'm not sure we'll get our $55,000 out of this, because if it's just the county and not this more encompassing thing, plus the points that you brought up, Mr. Tate, about individual items that the master planner might recommend, they're going to have to be voted on. We're going to have to come up with money for whatever's in there, ball fields and what have you. And so, gentlemen, my suggestion is ask Mr. Berger to make his suggestion a motion.
I just motion that we table this item till we can get with the cities and see if we've got any support and participation.
And I think included in that, or insinuated in what he's saying, is we need to look at the rationale a little more. We're interested in what the committee is saying and various other citizens, but I'm not ready to vote on it. We have a motion?
Second.
And second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. But thank you anyhow, Ronnie.
You're welcome.
No, I for one, am very interested, but I don't, I've been burned on these consultant plans time before, and as a minimum, I would like to see us give very specific guidance to anybody that we contract to do this. Anyhow, thank you, Ronnie.
All right. The second item I have is a request for the construction of 3 new rock signs at the primary entrances to the Governmental Center campus. If you've noticed ours, they're the large brick signs that were probably very popular in the mid-'80s, and these are original to our campus. We are asking for money to replace those with the rock signs like we have on US 29 and US 220. And so the request would be to demo the 3 existing signs, replace them with rock signs, and it would have lighting there for night lighting for those. The funding request is for $66,250 from county fund balance, and if you choose to approve this, if you would approve the budget amendment as well with this. And you in your packet, there should be the renderings of those signs that got sent by the sign company.
Mr. Hall, I believe we had a discussion on this, and your points were?
Well, I think they look great. I think they help modernize the look of the building, and they give us more of a consistent branding with the signs that we have at the major 4 entrances to the county. So based on that, I make a motion that we do approve this, and including the budget amendment as well.
Thank you.
Before I ask for a second, what's the deficiency of the existing brick and mortar signs?
Nothing, they're just out of date, out of style.
There was so if you're gonna ask questions, just throw them at me, because I was the one that made the suggestion for us to change those out.
Consider it thrown.
Ronnie's had enough, so I'll take it this time. So if anybody has any concerns, just ask, throw them my way.
I like them.
It goes through my department. So
I like
Well, I'd just like to make a statement on them. You know, it's, with our emphasis on economic development, it does make the county look, I don't want to say more progressive because I don't like that word, but more up to date.
Proactive
Or
yes, sir.
professional, or whatever you want to say. So to that, I would support the issue, and at the appropriate time, Mr. Chair, I would second the motion.
Motion second. Further discussion.
Just a comment. I just pray that if we're spending this much on signs, that they get us another 40 years.
So too.
These are made out of, just so you know, they're made out of granite dust.
They're like the signs on the major highways coming into county, right?
Yes, sir, exactly. And they sculpt them to look exactly like a rock and put the county EDC logo in them, the wording and all. So they're very substantial. So
50-year warranty, right?
I don't know, but I can find out what the warranty is for you. So I'm not sure about that.
Well, for granted, I won't be around to complain, I can tell you that. No. Further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, call the question. All in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. Well, you're very persuasive there, Mr. Manager.
Yes, sir. That's on me.
So. Thank you, gentlemen.
Now, Ms. Carter. We see you again. This is your annual presentation, right?
Yes, sir. I'm Latoria Carter, Program Manager. I'm Jody Springer. I am a career advisor, and this is Crystal Potique. She's also a career advisor. So we are Telamon. We're a self-sufficiency program, and we provide assistance in Rockingham, Caswell, and Person counties. We assist individuals 18 years and older and under 125% of the poverty guideline. We assist those individuals with tuition, books, testing fees for short-term certifications at the local community colleges. We also have limited funds available for emergency assistance, and we also have a work experience program where we connect a business in the community with individuals that need experience in job placement.
So this year, our funding is $304,725, and that went down like $100,000 from last year. So do you have any questions?
Mr. Berger.
Well, I'll say that I believe somebody came last year, I'm not sure who, and I never could in the past get good answers to what was going on. And then I had the pleasure of attending one of our events that probation and parole and some of the community outreach folks put on, and y'all had some folks there, and it may have been, yes, I was saying it may have been two of you. And y'all were very helpful in answering questions and kind of giving some information as far as what you do here in Rockingham County. So I certainly appreciate that.
These folks here have a requirement to make this presentation annually. But if you have any question, now's the time.
Thank you for the work that y'all do.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All that remains is thank you, ladies, for showing up and being almost last on the agenda. That wasn't the, don't consider yourself slighted, please.
Thank you so much.
Mr. County Manager, new business.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner comments. Mr. Barrow.
No comments tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Berger.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out, and I guess our next meeting is February.
Yes, it is a meeting. It's not a...
Oh, that's right, we're not adjourning.
No, we're going to...
We are adjourning this time. They moved it.
Which is, it's a good idea, but not quite yet. Okay.
So I just want to thank the young man that come to do the pledge tonight. I really like that, and that's a good opportunity for our youth to come and not only recite the pledge, but to take part in our meetings and see what local government actually does.
because in several years, he's going to be part of local government or part of the people that we deal with on a regular basis. I also want to thank the veterans and the work that they've done at the park. That was exciting to hear about that. And so with that, Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate everyone who turned out, Mr. Joyce, Tanner Joyce as well. I was very proud to hear him do such a great job tonight. Thank you for Sheriff Sam Page for being here this evening. I also like to acknowledge Sean Stover, the superintendent of Rockingham County Schools. Thank you for being here this evening. We appreciate your attendance as well. And folks, remember, cold weather's here, so just take precautions, be careful, keep a blanket in the car, keep a coat, keep your gas tank full if you can, and just be careful because it is winter. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall. A meeting or so ago, I encouraged all of you listening to remain as good neighbors, and certainly we had some examples of that with Johnny White and the other veterans here.
Curtis Pierce
included. But those gentlemen on a daily basis are doing things in support of veterans. And speaking of good neighbors, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Nate Hall from our neighboring county who passed away yesterday, I believe it was. Nate Hall was a longtime serving commissioner in Caswell County. I served on many committees with Nate at the state level and at the PTRC and the councils of government around the state, and he indeed was a true public servant. So Nate's family has our sympathy and a recognition also of his contribution to the area. It was great to have Nate in a sister county because he was always an advocate for what worked best for all of us. And with that, I have no further comments. Would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved, second. Further discussion here, none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned.